Do you know why dog poo isn't white anymore?
Yes.
Why?
Because it was the rust content or something like that.
It was the bone marrow.
The bone, yes, bone marrow content. Yes. I looked it up the other day.
So did I, literally like 3 days ago, because I was having this conversation. And yeah, because of BSE, they stopped putting bone meal in dog food, or at least as much as they used to be.
And then it's obviously left in the sun because no one ever picked up the dog shit before.
Oxidized.
I feel like because me and her didn't
feel like
grow
this
up
is gonna be
in the UK in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm constantly imparting lots of nuggets of information. Like, we used to have a white dog poo here. What?
Well, what a beautiful way to start the podcast. By the way, we have started, guys. That is the opening.
Gone are the days of
I didn't know
and
that.
record.
I didn't know about it. So I missed the beginning. So what's happened?
Basically, because of the BSE epidemic, they stopped using bone meal, or at least as much, in dog food. So therefore, the content was not as high in the poo, and also, as Leif said, it wasn't left out. The excrement wasn't left out to oxidize. So
just leave calcium.
Okay.
Let's promote a movie.
Let's get started then. So actually, you just did the tradition for me there. We do a little clap at the beginning of this podcast to get in the zone and to link sound and audio. That's kind of how it started, but it happens pretty much every time now. So after 3, we'll all do a little clap together. All together, yeah. Wow. Here we go. 1, 2. Oh no, it was after 3, wasn't it? So 3, 2, 1. Which way?
So it's technically 4.
1,
so it's
2,
3, 2, 1. Bang.
Yeah, here we go.
Minus 1, but yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hey! I think that was one of the best ones I've had in ages.
And all your mics are now broken.
So apologies to anyone listening if I forgot to turn down the volume there. But welcome, guys, to the BTS Creative Academy podcast. So this is a very special episode because today I have the cast and crew of Mr. Doom behind the 8 ball. And I hear it's going for a national cinema release on the 15th of November.
That's correct.
So a very warm welcome to my guests.
Thank you for having us.
If we go around, if you'd like to introduce yourselves rather than tell me your role within the film and who you are. Let's go clockwise from here.
Hi, I'm Leif Johnson. I am the writer, director, editor and producer of Mr. Doom Behind the 8 Ball.
Hello, everyone listening. My name's Matthew Potter. I was on site script supervisor, behind the scenes, videographer, assistant, everything under the sun just to make sure it all got done on the day.
And fluffer.
I'll make a note, fluffer. We'll come back to that.
Hi, my name's Joshua Guy, and I was the composer of the music, and also my band gave quite a lot of music as well to the soundtrack.
A full EP, I think.
A full EP.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
My name's Francesca Reid, one of the actors, and I played the hardened manager, the person who looked after the bar. And I was there to keep everyone in check.
Wonderful. And just on time, we have someone joining us.
Here he is.
That's okay. Jump straight in for me.
Pull the chair out
so we're just doing
sir.
introductions here. So
Just in time.
So who are you, and what was your role within the film?
So my name's Hai. My role was playing Bubbles in the film. So I'm just staying in character because Bubbles seems like a guy that's normally quite late. So.
Nice. Okay, Bubbles. Thank you. If we could pull the mic a little bit closer.
When were you ever in character?
I'll do it for you.
Thank you so much. And as always, I'm the host, Martin Colton. Before we get into the film, Mr. Doom, I just have to say a quick thank you to the hotel that's sponsoring this episode, the Megaro Hotel opposite King's Cross Station. Guys, what do you think of this place? You've just entered. You've just seen it for the first time.
It's like the Nautilus.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
It's like Captain Nemo.
Window.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, you do feel like you're in a submarine, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's gorgeous.
The danger mouse sitting just.
Yeah, we got the so basically with this with the podcast at the moment, it's Henry Chow Bain who wrote the Panharmonian Chronicles. I pronounced that correctly. He's sponsoring and helping the podcast move along.
Beautiful.
And these are his designs that we see on the table here as well. So I couldn't be doing this without his support and the support of the hotel. So just like to say thank you.
Thank
grateful.
you very much.
I'm sorry, I'm not wearing my pocket watch and twatty steampunk hat.
But if you're into that stuff, this is home for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you like a bit of sci-fi, it feels a bit like a Doctor Who meets Harry Potter. I
Yeah.
feel here.
Yeah.
It's a visual smorgasbord, I'd say. And obviously,
Yes.
thematically, we've got our little rodent friend with his little gas mask on, just bringing in the vibe.
Yes.
Don't talk
Hot
about
vibes.
Hailey like that.
Every room in this building feels like an escape room. You go down a
Yeah.
corridor and it's like, oh, what's
you
what
find
am I meant to do
something
to get
new.
out?
Very tactile as well. You are
Yeah, I
a little
was
feel
like,
at the table
this
there,
feels
aren't you?
great.
Yeah, there's a nice texture to the place, nice vibe, nice energy. So let's get onto your film then.
Yes, please.
Mr. Doom Behind the Eight Ball. Now, I've just watched a screener of it, and there was one thing that I'm going to jump to my disappointment first of all. I watched it on my laptop, and I felt gutted that I didn't see it on the big screen. I felt straight away that it needed that visual treat of the big screen, the surround sound. He's leaving. I met Leif previously at a film festival where you were showing off the film, and it was a few months back, and you talked about your hopes and dreams about getting this into the cinema, and I'm so excited for you that it has a national release, because this film deserves it.
Oh, thank you very much.
How do
means a
you
lot.
feel now you're in this place after the conversation we had previously?
That's a very big question for somebody who's lived with the film for so long.
Mhm.
You go through lots of different stages of excitement, elation, disappointment, and then so on. A very cyclical sort of journey. And then we're at that point now where it's going to be seen by hopefully a lot more than just a select few, and get people's feedback and just see if it actually works. It's just been a long time. I wrote this back in like 2020, early 21, so it's been a long time.
And so with the film, one of the things that I enjoyed was that I also felt like it was a film that you could just enjoy if you don't know much about films, but as a filmmaker and someone that appreciates what's gone before, I got a big sense of there's a bit of Guy Ritchie to this film because it's a British film.
Yeah.
But then I also got a sense of God, his name's escaped me now. Now we're in the moment. Sin City. Comic book artist
Frank Miller.
Frank Miller. There we
Miller,
go.
okay.
Frank Miller.
That's the nerd in me coming out there.
Yeah, I got a sense of Frank Miller from you as
I
well.
think
which
I
are
say
quite-
Robert Rodriguez,
Mhm.
who directed that.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say that was.
yeah.
his-
I guess I'm jumping to Frank Miller as the writer and the,
Right.
and the,
Oh,
the
right,
actual
okay.
comic book itself and that kind of style.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
maybe, Robert Rodriguez is another one
Yeah.
that you're taking inspiration from.
It's interesting hearing other people's point of view, and that's what your takeaway from it. It's always like good to get other people's.
Yeah, it's always a lot of people have said the Guy Ritchie thing,
Yeah.
and that is intentional, because we set out to make something that was very British, very British sensibilities, something that we thought would do well and would be liked by a wider audience and not too niche. So we wanted to make sure that it was something that would appeal to a broader audience. Yeah.
And then, so with Joshua, how did you? The sound within this film was very important.
So, our good friend Andrew did the sound, and so there was quite a lot of conversation between me and him on the score and doing the sound. And I remember seeing a rough cut of the film, and we watched it, and then I hadn't pitched anything for the score at that point, and I was like, I think you've made a Western film.
And that's when I went. It's exactly what we've.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like, guy rolls into town, comes into a bar, he's looking for a guy, then they go on do things.
Is this the same film?
It is
a
the
guy
same
comes in
film.
town, he's looking for a guy.
Yeah,
They do things.
They do things together. Actually,
They go on
maybe
an
this was
adventure.
what I watched last night.
Homoerotic.
And I just got that kind of Western feel from it. So I was like, kind of need to do a spaghetti Western score for this.
It's great.
To hype up the comedy but also make it feel a bit dangerous as well when it needs to. Also, I got Tarantino from it. Personally, I got a bit of Tarantino, and so that's kind of where I came from. And then I think from that, then Andy puts gunshots under every single pool cue. So yeah, I think it's great, and it kind of put it in a world. And it kind of, you had that offset of its Britishness, but with an American kind of sensibility. Yeah.
And so, did you feel, Matt? Did you get this same kind of vibe when you came into it?
Yeah, it's just so for context, I come from more of a corporate background, so I always wanted to get into film, but I just the stars never aligned. So I've been pigeonholed into a corporate world of doing boring corporate stuff, which, you know, it puts money on the table, but it didn't take that creative juices I wanted. So I mean, the first time we met, me and Leif, was a friend of a friend. He was a camera operator I hired, and he was just going around. He said, "I got a friend of mine. We're going to spend the day doing a script, like a literally day shoot." And then he pulled out, but I was like, "Well, I'm still going to go because there's nothing worse than someone pulling out than everyone does." And I just mucked in, had loads of fun, met new people. I didn't know anyone and I turned out we've been friends ever since, and I've helped you make this movie. So.
Yeah, you were there from the very beginning when we actually get this off the ground. We actually had to make a proof of concept trailer. So you were there right from the beginning, doing lots of different things that basically yourself and the DOP, and you were his sort of gaffer and assistant camera.
I remember, yes.
Yeah.
That was a question I wanted to ask, because we did some concept shots to make sure we kind of knew what we're going to do to shoot around the pool table, which is a lot of what this film is. So we found this pool table, which to this day, where did you find that pool table?
I think I got it off like Free Cycle. I picked up a pool table. It was a smaller pool table, and we managed to wangle a warehouse, and then we set up some lights in the warehouse and underslung the camera with the probe lens, like trying to get these shots across all the balls, so we knew exactly how we were going to shoot all the pool games to make them seem a lot more exciting.
It was a very fun, creative day, because we just had tunes playing out. We were just having good fun, like working things out, putting the probe lens on rigs above, on the side, just anything we could think of to make it look cool, and just made it a really fun, creative day.
It's really interesting you say that, because I'm personally not a fan of sports films. So when I was entering into something like this to sit down and watch it, I thought, another film about sports, and it's not really my vibe. But the excitement around the pool table really drew me in. I felt sometimes it was more like I was watching a racing car film, something like Days of Thunder.
Okay, yeah.
I felt the rumble when the balls cracked, and that's watching it on a small screen like my laptop.
I'll never forgive you for that.
So, no, I know. Well, it's your fault. You sent it to me. I'm going to have to go and re-watch it.
Well, you're going to have
which is a really nice thing. I really enjoy doing that because I know it's going to be a different experience on the big screen.
Absolutely. And from there, obviously, we had the lovely pandemic hit, and then we were just like, okay, let's make this negative into a positive. So we made sure we were having weekly update meetings, orchestrating them, making sure everyone came on time, and then making sure they learnt their scripts, and making sure when it came to the shoot, we knew exactly what we're doing to make it as streamlined as possible. So our work process on the site was just bang on it. So I think that really helped. It's a lot of pre-production went into it.
You were very integral in that point, that part.
And when I was on site, it was a good learning curve for me, because I've always been interested. With camera work, I always find it's not. I mean, it obviously helps with the camera and the lenses you have, but it's the lighting that really makes something look good, in my opinion. And the DOP did a great job at making sure everything looked. And it was a good learning curve for me. And yeah, and me to just capture all the behind the scenes. I mean, I've always been that guy that loves going through DVDs and looking at the bonus features on the behind. And I thought it was really important to capture that, because you've got this film, but you want to see what all went into.
There's a story behind them,
and it film. Just helps with all our PR stuff to make sure we've got all this streamlined stuff we can put on the social, say, look, here's all the behind the scenes. So it was integral for that part of it as well.
There's definitely an excitement when I look online, when I look on your social media. There is something building, there is something happening, and been happening for a while since you've been making the process. It's and like you say, I enjoy that as well, the behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah,
there is a story behind the story, and it's really nice to dive into that a bit as it's going along.
A lot more than you think.
In what sense?
Oh wow! I mean, there's just it's been a learning curve for everyone involved. Like I've never shot a feature-length film before, and prior to shooting this, so obviously trying to get other scripts off the ground, and anyone I spoke to was, have you done a feature before? I'm like, well, no, because this would be my feature, and then I would have done a feature, and I kind of understand why now, because without that experience, no one really wants to take a punt on you. So the only way to actually go back and have a different conversation with those people is to go, yes, I have, and now I know exactly why you asked me, because as well as directing, I was producing as well, which just through pure necessity. But when you put yourself in that situation, you have nothing but love for producers and the stuff that they have to put up with, because it is a lot, and it can be quite stressful. So I was going with that one.
Well, you want more to come from this film. You want to make other stuff. This isn't the end of your storytelling process, is it?
No.
I feel an excitement for you guys to see what comes in the future. I think this looks like the first film in a collection of something. Like you mentioned Tarantino. Yeah. Tarantino started with Reservoir Dogs, a small budget movie, and now we're talking about his 10th movie coming out at some point soon. And even though they're individual stories, you see them as a collection of stories. So it is important that we look towards the future as well whilst we're making this one.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the next one is part of a trilogy.
Wow.
In a funny kind of way, that they are linked. They're not linked stories, but there is a through line that kind of connects them together.
A connected world.
A connected world, exactly.
Some would say a Cornetto trilogy. Another director would bring into the mix.
So we'll pause the film talk and behind the scenes stuff. I want to bring in the actors, the talent that's within the film into this. So Francesca, tell me a little bit about your experience of coming into this world of Mr. Doom.
Well, I've known Leif for a good amount of time. We've worked on other projects. I got to be very creatively involved with Satisfaction, which was a short that we made some years ago. And again, that was a one-day shoot, and we created stuff together improvisationally. So Leif is really fantastic at working with performers and comedians collaboratively. It's not, obviously when we get to the point when we're shooting, he has to be more directional and in a feature film sense. But when we were doing the shorts and other stuff like that, he's very open to feedback and really respects his performers, and I think has a way of talking to them that perhaps other directors don't always know how to. More angry is not a direction. You need to let me know why, what's going on, what's the context, what's the bigger conversation there. And so again, getting to work on this feature film as a friend and as a colleague, but mostly as a friend, just very proud to see this moment in Leif's career and to get to be part of it. And it was a very exciting process from beginning, getting the script physically, being able to see it, this really analog celebration, and then getting on set and just having a lot of fun, but also getting down to business and getting to see it on the big screen when we did do the screening. And I hosted the Q&A. I am available for such things.
This is part of the job, isn't it?
Yeah, this is my CV. It was just a really proud moment, of all of the work that everyone had put into it, from the cast, the crew, listening to the music, knowing how well we were looked after by the team, making sure we knew where to be at what times, and obviously just seeing the creative vision come together and getting to see the other actors as well that we'd been able to play with on set and have a great experience.
It sounds like a wonderful experience, something that I feel a little bit jealous that I wasn't part of it after hearing what you've got to say about it.
We can make another one with you.
Yeah, I'm available as well.
What would you like to do, Ben?
The next one's called Mr. Shroom, and it's all very psychedelic.
Okay, yeah, I've had a little bit of dabbling with the psychedelics.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been there and back.
We're just going to drop ecstasy and LSD, and we're just going to see what comes out of it.
Sounds like a fun time. It's for educational purposes.
We'll be talking also about the Mycelium Network and Sheldrake, our friend, our homie's going to come in and talk to us about how they talk to each other miles away. And I know you love education. I see it in your eyes. Learned man.
I do, yeah. Yeah. No, this I have had my own experiences of this, so I'm really interested. I'm going to put a pin in that. I want to come back. I want to come back to this.
Yeah, it's a really serious point, so you should.
So tell me about the reason I wanted to put a pin in it, because I had a question about Leif's. You started talking about his openness to directing. Tell me a little bit more about that and how that affected the film.
I'd say that he's a very clear vision, so it's not like we're all just going and doing what we feel like, but he'll give us some direction, but also he'll never make you do anything that you're uncomfortable with. It's always a very sort of conscious process wherein he's taking into account your talents, and the way he wrote it, he knew who we would like to work with in some instances, and that's about having a great collection of talent and not putting the story and the actors afterwards, that it's a whole process together at one point. And so like the character I played, for instance, was not very far away necessarily from who I am and experiences I've had. And I'm not saying that I don't like to play other than myself, because of course it's a fantastic, exciting experience as an actor to be able to play something different. But it's also beautiful to be seen as who you are and to have those people represented on screen who aren't always. And I think that is a big part of this film, that we see people who normally we're not celebrating. They're sometimes on the outskirts of society and they're not lauded in the same ways that other people are. And I think that we get to see them in a real sense, but we also get to see them have victories and glory as well. So, yeah. That's my answer.
Well, that's a great answer. Yes. You're not being tested.
But if I was,
if you was, you passed. 10 out of 10. Now your turn, Bubbles. Now your test. So how do you feel about what Francesca said and about her experience? Did that? I called you Bubbles because you came in as character. So
that's Bubbles. Yes, I worked with Leif for quite a long time, doing a few different projects, and when we done the short film Cowling Killers. I thought, you know what, this guy, I really like his style. He's really stylistic, and he stands out to a lot of other different directors that I've seen. And I don't want to blow his trumpet too much because he won't be able to get his head out the door. But I'm always giving it to him. Yeah, I'm always giving it to him. But stylistically, I think he stands out in a crowd full of directors, and that's what attracted me to it. So when he spoke to me about playing this Bubbles character, I was really excited. And, Bubbles is a small character in the film, but the amount of attention to detail Leif puts onto every facet, no matter whether they're big, they're small, a lot of detail goes into every single element. And I must say, just opposite to what Francesca said about the character being quite close to her, I don't think I'm quite close to Bubbles. I think I'm quite the opposite, actually.
Look, everyone here is like shaking their heads. Come on, someone pipe up. Why is he wrong?
I'm definitely not Bubbles. There was a scene where, Danny Parsons, he slaps me across the cheek. Like, if that happened in real life, he would have been dead in about 15 seconds.
Sure, yeah. And you actually put a line of your own in the film as well.
Yeah. Yeah, about my mum. About my mum lending me 20 quid. And I'm glad that you kept that in, actually.
It was funny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that as well, actually. There's a lot of, as well as these guys, we have most of the cast are made up of comics, stand-up comedians, and they're like going, "Oh, can I just say this? Because I think it'll be funny." I'm like, yeah, that's so much funnier. That's why you're a comedian and I'm not. I mean, it's a funny script.
Is there not a danger there? Is there not a danger that they could get carried away with themselves? That you could lose some of your art? No.
They know the boundaries,
Right? Okay.
Because we'll do the script and then they'll go, "Actually, I had an idea," and I'll go, "Yeah, we'll run it," and I'll make those decisions in post. Because I edited it as well. But
when it came to post, I'm just curious. Obviously, we did the script version first, and then the improv version. Was it most the case that the improv was more in the cut than the script one, or
actually I would say most, if not all, suggestions were in the final cut because they were just a lot funnier.
That just goes all the talent.
No, like that's why High's line was in there. I was like, yeah.
Filmmaking is a collaborative process, isn't it?
Yeah,
it isn't about. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it work where it's about one person. I don't think it could work, could it?
No. Well, I mean, I think just going back to what Fran said as well with the characters and the script is that actually I wrote the script with people in mind. I didn't write the script and then put out auditions and then try and find those characters. I wrote it with the people and their characters in mind. So Danny Sutcliffe, one of the leads, he is Mr. Doom. He is that is Jack,
without a doubt,
and probably more so. So when I wrote it, his voice was in my head, and the same with Fran. Same with just a note, director's note. Bubble is your character name, not Bubbles. That's Michael Jackson's monkey.
I was thinking about
that. So yeah, it was tailored to the people, and that was more of a practical thing, is because I already knew the people that I wanted in. I didn't want to spend time trying to have people audition. The only person really that I brought in was Danny Parsons, and And I came across him on a shoot anyway when we were shooting an ad for Moonpig, and I just looked over at Craig, who was also the DOP on the film. I was like, "Do you reckon he's?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "Can you be in my film?" And obviously he was like, "Yeah, why not? I'm doing Moonpig adverts, so of course I'll be in your film."
I think that's a really special thing, to find people in that way, to find them naturally. I've been to being an actor over the years. I've been to a lot of auditions, and I've found the auditions have never worked for me personally. It's always been once I've got to know people. It's always worked for me when I've been. Yeah, because there's something from an actor's point of view when you just turn up and you go in a room and you see a bunch of strangers and you do the thing. For me, it always feels like there's a wall between you because you can't get yourself across within that moment.
I know they say, like, if you go casting workshops, they're like, no, they want you to succeed. And I do get that, like, objectively and on an intellectual level, and they say don't want it too much, but none of us are out there making millions, apart from if you have done, and then probably you're really chill walking into
and then you probably wouldn't go into the audition room anyway.
But like, I would always think when I had a workshop audition, I'm much more likely to secure that job than if I just simply do an audition, because I know I have the talent, but what really sells me is my ability to be creative, work with other people, and my personality. But like you said, if you're just going in for 3 minutes and they're meeting you across the table, they're tired and they've got very specific ideas about what you should look like, it's a lot harder for you to break past that. Whereas when you're in a more workshop audition experience, and also if you're working on longer term projects, you don't want to work with people who are difficult and who aren't willing to like. And
you won't get that. You won't get that in 3 minutes, will you? As a filmmaker, you don't really know what the person's like, because maybe they're putting it on for that moment, and it's a risk, isn't it?
Stranger danger.
Yeah,
don't get in the van even if they have got puppies.
So I do a lot of theatre. My business is I'm a theatre producer, and I only employ people that I know. Hello.
What a pleasure it is
to meet you. But someone moaned at me recently and was like, you don't hold auditions, like this is really unfair. And I was like, but I've got people I trust. I'm putting my money and my time into creating something and making my vision come alive, and I can't risk unknowns. And occasionally new people will come along, but it's never for auditions. And so, it was 2 days ago I was told I was being unfair for that.
We had that during the recording of this film, because we had a core actors and team that were there from the start to finish, which was fantastic. But then we did have to take risks, like our sound operator, I think it was the concept trailer we made. We had to try someone new, and we just had our fingers crossed, and we're just like, I hope they're good. And luckily it all paid off. But you're right, you get that kind of like fingers crossed,
because you're taking enough risks in creating the thing, so you want to, when it comes to people, I feel like you want to minimize it, because it's such a big thing getting the wrong people involved.
Yeah, I mean we couldn't take a punt, basically. We didn't have the budget to do that. There's no room for reshoots. There's no wiggle room at all. So it's like, why would you take that risk? Like I wasn't going to, because the film was so tight on budget and relied on the goodwill of so many people. Like I really couldn't take that risk at all.
So how do actors move forward then? How are you guys moving forward with your careers, where I'm sitting here as a theatre producer, film director, saying we don't want to take the risks? How do you move forward with your career?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the audition process, I think it's even got worse now with self-tapes. You know, you think about being in the room, you're filming it in your living room, you know, mainly in your boxers, just showing the top half. So I think
What kind of auditions are you doing? Hold on a minute.
So I think that process has diluted even worse. You know, rarely getting to see people in person. But I think going forward, it's a little bit luck of the draw, right? You know, you audition, you hope to get that one-hit wonder. And I recently met Michael Ward at a film screening, and I remember reading about his story. You know, he was working in like one of the betting shops. It was either Paddy Power or William Hill. And then he got the call for Top Boy. And then the next day, he just gave a big FU to his manager and left. And then now it's changed his life completely. But you hear those stories all the time. So it's just about staying in the game as long as you can and hoping to get that audition. And Harrison Ford, that's what he said as well. He said once he finished, you know, their drama school and they were all going to LA on a bus, he said there were so many people that was just saying, oh, do you know what, I'm going to be a star within the next year, next couple of years. He said it's the long game. You know, survive as long as you can within the acting industry and hopefully you'll get your one big shot.
Do you want to name drop anyone else? I think if you could go on Hailey's website, it's him in like the galleries, you and lots of celebrities.
Yeah,
pointing at celebrities.
None of them pointing out.
So I guess that brings me on to like the other thing with acting then, that maybe it's about networking and building friendships.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of inequality though as well, because for you to be in the right room with the right people and even to be taken seriously, a lot of the time people want you to look and sound like them. So it's very difficult and it's not cool, and we do need to be mindful of are we making good quality work, or are we using the same people all the time? Not to talk about your process necessarily, but just, you know, you watch a lot of television and it's the same people until we all get a bit bored of them. And so there do need to be more inroads. I think a big thing for me, I'm not an actor solely. I'm an actor, comedian, I'm a drag king, I do improv, I write, I'm a singer, I do cabaret. I think it's really important to have a lot of hyphens in order to be relevant and to be able to make interesting work and make your own work, crucially, I think, and get it seen. Because in many ways, social media is both the greatest equalizer and the most repugnant aspect of like comedy and performance as well, because there are people who are not ready to go and do tours who are very successful on TikTok and they're great for 30 seconds on a TikTok video, but an absolute abhorrence for an hour on a stage because they just don't have like, I'm not to like be rude or anything, but like you got to really
the stamina's different.
Exactly. And it's like it's great to have a joke for a minute, but can you sustain an audience for an hour? And if you've got a difficult audience, do you know how to approach them? Do you know if the energy is different, how to shift that? And that's only through years of practice, and that's about getting out there and doing that. But there's a certain amount of privilege to be able to even do those things, because to have the money and the headspace to be even able to do that means that you've got a certain level of comfort. Like myself, I feel like I've not ever been fully in one world because I didn't come from a family where anyone was giving me any money. So I had to constantly keep working. So that's why I feel like I'm probably behind a lot of my peers who I graduated from drama school with, because it's taken me longer. And yeah, it is holding on, sticking around for as long as you can. But so much of it is luck. I know very talented people who will never see the light of day and no one will ever see them. And I think they're the funniest, the most creative, the most talented people, and no one will ever know about them, just because life isn't fair and there's a lot of luck. And there's a lot of people out there, if you really look into their backgrounds, their dad's a producer, their cousins are this, you know, there's a lot of that going on. So you have to also have a life that you like living outside of your career. If your career is everything, if you never go on holiday, if you never make any plans, you've lived a life waiting for something that's always going to come. And I think you have to love the chase, you have to love the creation. You can't hope that you're always going to come to the destination, because if that's what you're pinning on, you're going to be unhappy.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, and that journey is really important. And it sounds to me like you've got a pretty good journey going on there with lots of different things that you're doing, lots of different talents. But you also mentioned there you felt a little bit behind.
Yeah, I mean, I think also the pandemic made us all feel a little bit behind, right? I feel like we all lost about 4 years. And depending at what point it came, if you're a teenager, you lost some crucial socialization, which means you're now trying to catch up with everything. I mean, they're all inherited ideas of catching up in timeframes, right? But that's society. It gives you these little benchmarks that you're going to be working toward. So I do think that there's a lot of presumed points that we're I can't speak today, decolonizing your practice and yourself as a person, right? Because success is looking very particular in one way because we're looking at it through a white Western framework. Can we look at it differently? What's the metric of success? What does that look like for each of us? And trying to break apart what we've inherited and what we really want.
Could we be in a moment where we break that down?
110%, because we're in a crux in terms of climate politics, where because we moved into a more left-wing space and everything was feeling a bit more progressive, we're having that turn back of the tide now, where we're seeing fascism and other things creeping back in. And so hopefully, we're going to start working together as a community. And if you care more about your brother than you do and your neighbour than you do just your romantic partner, then absolutely. And we do that through making art. We do that through creating the possibility of different futures by making stuff that people can engage with.
And do you feel the same, or do you feel similar in any way as a performer, Joshua?
You've taken it very high. It's very highbrow now. Good Lord. We could talk about Nietzsche if you really want to.
Please do. Is it Nietzsche or nature?
Well, could be both. Who knows? I completely agree. As a gay man, I completely see the creep of politics and the creep of fascism in our day to day, and I fully believe that we need to break it back down again and get back to basics on a lot of things. But I don't think I can be as eloquent as you are on that point.
I would disagree on one thing, is that as even though yes, lockdown was terrible. But I think, this was born out of lockdown. And I know quite a few people who made the most out of that time, because what else are you going to do? And, if, life gives you lemons, make a film. I think the only way I could get through it was to use the time in the most productive way possible. And if you didn't do that in that time, then you are going to be behind, because you didn't seize that moment.
I think we are seeing a renaissance in art, though, aren't we? Like,
I
look at theatre and you look at film and music and all of that, all that's come out of lockdown is
the opportunity. Really, I feel like the opportunity in the world is changing. I couldn't have done this 5 years ago, but the technology is becoming more available to us.
Is that a good thing?
We talked about this last time.
We did, yeah.
I believe that it is a good thing, that it's giving some opportunity. It is turning the quality down. We've got a lot of quantity. We've got, like you said, we've got a lot of people out there on social media that can do 1 minute of stand-up, but they can't do it in front of a live audience.
But they're just pumping mediocrity into the world and adding to the noise.
But without that opportunity of having a start, giving it a go, can we move forward?
I don't know. I mean, I talked about my experience when I interviewed Ridley Scott.
Yes.
And that
he says, pick up your iPhone, make a film.
Yeah, and I'm like,
where's that going to take you?
Well, exactly. And that's what everyone's doing. So there's so much noise now. There's so much. So everyone's doing it. It's like it is harder now than it was. Yes, okay, you had to have investment for film and the process, but like. The amount of people who actually had cameras in their hands when he started making films to now is astronomical. Like
we couldn't even put a number on the percentage, could we, of the change in?
It's crazy. So he's talking out of his arse basically. And I wish he'd have shot Napoleon on an iPhone. It would probably been a bit more interesting.
Shots fired.
And then to talk, I'm not. I'm not repped by Ridley
I've got a great story
yet.
Johnny, our friend, he was an extra in that, and he was in the barn when it was burning down, which I think is in the 4-hour version. It's not in the cinema version. And basically, Ridley Scott said, "Hold the doors so the actors can't get out while we set this barn on fire." And then the actors were pushing against the doors to get out, and he was like. They heard over the radio Ridley go, "Fuck them," and so that's real fear in their eyes because they think that barn is really going to burn down, and that's the kind of guy that Ridley Scott is.
But I think with this, if we are having a renaissance with art, I think it is important with what you just did there, that you say that your truth, that you say that if you don't like something, I don't like it. If I don't like Ridley Scott's film, because it was bad.
I've not actually seen it.
Have you not seen it?
No,
I
I was just being bored.
It was rubbish.
I wouldn't I can't find anyone yet that would recommend it.
Right.
It's overindulgent.
It's cheap.
cinema
it
making.
felt twee and tacky.
Okay, guys, let's not badmouth too much. It had good costumes. It had good,
Yes.
Costume was great. Yeah,
and the-
got set design. Come on.
Yeah, many talented people worked on that film, but the end product was dull.
It was indulgent. I give you.
You know, and so not every piece of work that we work on is going to be great, is it? You know, he's made some great movies, and that wasn't one of them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think anyone who's made a film, like on any level, like deserves praise just to get through the process. Because and it doesn't matter if you're Ridley Scott working on a huge like film like Napoleon, or if you're just making something like Mr. Doom, like it's a terrible process for the most part, but you love it so much you get through it, and that's why, But I do think that a lot of people are now given the opportunity to do that because it is made a little easier. But again, lots of love for those people, but some people shouldn't be making some films.
Do you think those people find out along the way that it isn't for them?
No, I think a lot of them are deluded.
Yeah.
I do.
I think to be talented, you have to have a certain taste level, and some people don't realise they don't have it. People who are never going to be incredible at a thing never think that they're not good at it, and that is the confidence that I aspire to have.
Yeah, I don't know. I think taste is very important. I think, like, as a musician, like, there are people who are amazing musicians but have zero taste, and I'm not going to name any names, but they're great. They can play the piano, they can play the guitar, blah blah blah. But can they make me feel something? Probably not. So I think if you're able to make something, even if it is low budget, as long as it's tasteful and it makes me feel something, do it. But I think there's people who maybe get bogged down in the technicalities of things, and actually then it just leads to nothing. And then I'm just left here feeling nothing. And if that's the point of art, isn't it? It's got to make me feel something.
100%. I also think, like, when I think about the pandemic, one of the things that came out of it that I think was incredibly important was access. Like, people who have chronic illnesses or who are disabled, who were like kept out of things for so long, were able to join in a very real sense. And I think we've lost a bit of that again. The fact that people can work from home, great, but of course there's a bit of a turnaround from that. But I think what we gained in like creating access for those who either financially, physically, mentally, for whatever reason, didn't have the spoons to be in the space, could be involved. And I think we need to remember that and keep that going.
So let's go back to the pandemic then, where this idea for this film was born. How did that happen? How did you plant that seed? Where did it come from?
I've been touting a horror film for quite some time, and still am, and that hopefully will be the next project. But I needed to sort of stop having that cyclical conversation of like, I haven't made a film before, blah blah blah. But now I have, and it really was born out of, can I make a film that's easily made for not a lot of money, working with my friends and colleagues? How can I make it as easy a ride as possible and get the best results, even down to, it doesn't require a huge amount of like lighting rigs. I use locations I already have access to. It was like, what can I do? So, lockdown offered me that time to really think about it and focus on it and not have any other distractions. And really kind of just lose myself more in a kind of in the script, in the story, and enjoy the process a bit more with no distractions at all. And it was approached in a very practical sense. It's like, I want to just make a film, and whatever that is, it has to be something people enjoy, but it also has to be something almost like a challenge to myself of how can I make this for very little money, and I think we did that because the budget is like 60K. It's not a lot of money.
No, it's pennies in filmmaking.
It's nothing. It's nothing. But and I don't know. You've watched it. You might agree. But a lot of people have seen it. Have said it doesn't look like that. No. It looks like it has got more budget to it.
It's cinematic, and being cinematic often means money's behind it. That's how it feels. It takes a certain level of input to get that quality out.
Yeah, I'm a filmmaker, but I'm also I love film as well. Like, and I think that's sometimes that is what defines you as a filmmaker. It's like, how much of a film lover are you, and what gets you going, and how much of it's almost like, everyone's entitled to their own sort of what they like, what genres they like, and what the kind of thing that they like. But I've been a lover of film all my life since I was like, since as far as I remember, and it's all I've ever wanted to do. So if I'm going to make a film, I want it to be a film that I would want to watch, and I would want to make sure other people walk away feeling something and walking away with something, because that is all I've ever wanted from being so young.
So would you say then that part of your process is you're the audience first?
Yes, very much so. And also I kept an audience in mind, but I thought of myself as the audience as well.
What benefit does that bring to the process?
Well, because first and foremost, I'm an editor. So when I was writing, it's almost like I'm editing. So I can when I'm writing, I can see it in my head. So I'm already editing a film that's already in my head. So which made it a lot easier when shooting something. Sometimes I feel like I'm just the editor on set, going, I just need this shot and this shot and this shot, and that's great, and I can't wait to cut it together. So yeah, it is very important.
So as you got all this together in lockdown, you're quite solitary, then you start to branch out into the world. Was it Matt that you brought in? Was Matt quite early on?
Yes, because he's lovely and I knew he'd help me.
He's the guy. I'm like, what? Like a deer in the headlights. So, okay.
Well, you kept saying to, because I was like, thank you so much. And you're like, well, I'm your mate.
Oh yeah, I've had experiences where I've been on site, and just to have no ego when you're helping out and just be like, yeah, can you just move that lights down? It's like, I'm not doing that. It's like, no, of course, I'm just going to help you out. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a process with everyone you've worked with. Really, everyone just pulls together, which makes the whole process on site work.
Yeah. Well, if they didn't, it would never have worked.
Yeah, and I just feel like when it came to even with we filmed the majority of the film, and we came back to all the pickup shots. And as you just mentioned about the whole, you're an editor in your head and you script all out. As the script supervisor, I was making sure to like tick off all the shots. You have this big A4 folder, just flicking through, ticking them off as you go. And there'll be times where I'm trying to, and I can't get in your head. And sometimes it's a challenge for me on site to get into your head, because you've already like 2 steps ahead, and we'll just try and play catch up, and then I get used to that. I was on set for about 2 weeks, and then by the end of those 2 weeks, I was like, I've got it. I know how he thinks now, and then it's just like a level of trust as well, where you just go, he knows what he wants, the crew know what he wants. Let's just go and enjoy this wave all together. And it was just like a real well-oiled machine by the end of the shoot, wasn't it?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think a lot of people who are on much longer shoots say it takes about 2 weeks to get into that rhythm and to get to that groove of everyone.
There's kind of like a collective that's happening, a creative collective, and it takes you can't just step in for one day and it work.
It takes a little time to sort of get into the groove. And then by the time we got into the groove, we were wrapping, because we shot it in, to get all together, we shot everything in, the main bulk of filming was 10 days. And then we had 4 to 5 days on top of that. But when we shot the proof of concept as well, a lot of the stuff that we shot in the proof of concept is also in the film as well.
Okay.
I made sure that I used that time
wisely.
Yeah.
Because that's about going back to that budget thing.
Yes.
You're making a film for a small budget. That means you've got a small amount of time available to you.
Yeah, I didn't want to reshoot scenes, basically.
Yeah, and if it worked for the film, then why not?
Yeah.
It's your footage, your work.
Exactly.
For this film, then.
Yeah, and this is why I felt bad. There was a couple of scenes where I'm personally messed up, and there's one scene where I walked into shot when I wasn't supposed to. And I know the amount of pressure they're trying to get this under. So, we want to all pull together. And I did feel quite bad.
I did a Christian Bale on you, didn't
I? God, you amateur. Yeah, so, when you're under that much pressure, you don't want to waste any takes. Time is of the essence. So, apologies for that.
Now you apologise.
How many weeks did that take to get that apology?
Yeah.
But you get it eventually.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny enough, I was watching something recently, Stanley Kubrick, and he mentioned directing a film is like trying to write a poem whilst you're on a roller coaster. And, you know, when I heard that, I was like, oh my God. And seeing Leif on set, you know, with the producing, with the directing, and just wearing so many hats interchangeably, and you can just visibly see it. And this is why we do need to come together when you're making those films. Just
I agree. I had a moment where on site I'd be given all the camera rushes to also digitize all the footage onto hard drives at the same time, as many as my other roles. And there was a part where in the Oracle pool hall, and it's very dimly lit. It's a very, with all the lights on, it's lovely, but it's got sets this mood when it's all the only light source is really the top lights on top of the pool tables, and I'm in the shadows, and there's just like this light at the end of the corridor for you guys also working. I could just see you all in your element, and I'm just copying footage in the corner, and it was just really nice to have that kind of like vignette look of you guys all just cracking on, and it's just like I think that comes across as well as the actual lighting. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I feel like with your lighting within all your projects, there's a very similar kind of feel, that kind of dark tone, which is very interesting. Yeah, which I'm very excited to see this new.
I can't afford most of the lights.
Just an eco.
You work what you got, yeah, totally.
Got away with it on Batman.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say is I'm interested to see this kind of lighting DOP style come into your next project, the horror film, because that's, as we all know, horror films are very dark in nature anyway. So I'm very excited to see how that turns out.
Yes, yeah, me too.
So what have you learned from this then, moving forward into the next films as we go into the next stage?
I still stand by the fact the actual act of making the film is the fun and relatively easy part. It's everything that surrounds the film. The actual producing and making and delivering a film, to me, was, you've got, you know, pre-production is, you're full of hope and optimism, and you've got all these ideas, and you're putting out fires left and right, but everything's going to be okay, and you manage to sort of get, you know, got this location, got these guys, and this is all happening, and you get there in a day, and then you go, well, I you know, I'm a jobbing director, so I understand, like, very much. I've never heard that Stanley Kubrick quote before, but that is spot on. You are constantly putting out fires whilst trying to sort of make something. It's you know, it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. And you get through that, and then you've got everything in the can, and then you might have to do some pickups, and that's usually quite fun because, you know, by that time you've done an edit. You go boom, 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 and you're popping everything in, and then to me the real fun started working with Josh and Andy, and you know, like actually seeing it come together, and then, you know, sonically as well, and just like, wow, you know, and then the grade working with Neil, the colorist, and then it just comes to life, and then you kind of have these like little sort of moments, layers of you know,
layers of achievement,
and you're like, it's getting there, and then you finally do it, and you hand it in, and then you go, right, okay, and then the momentum is not, because we're like, you know, we're going, and then it kind of just slows right down, because you know, you've got to then got to talk to sales agents, and you've got to go into festivals, and then all these things, just everything sort of just goes down to almost to a grinding halt, but it seems like it does. And then it's the most frustrating thing ever. You hear about these people who make films, and these like, no, we like Ghostbusters, I think, when they just like we ran out from the edit suite, and we went straight to the premiere with the final edit. You know, and then you go, wow, I wish that was the case, because you're like still on a high. So yeah, and it's hard to keep that enthusiasm where, you know, you've got a film that's just essentially on a drive, just sat there, and you're like, come on,
let's make this move now.
Come on, let's get this out there. And now we're there.
Yes, now you're there. Now, what is it? 2 weeks away?
2 weeks away. 2
weeks away.
But now I'm talking to like PR companies and trying to
create some buzz. So there's you're on a new part of the roller coaster now.
Yeah, you know, it's another level of excitement, I guess, as well. But it's all, every day is a school day with it for sure, and I'm learning more and more as we go along. So going into to answer your question, going into the next films, like I just feel like I'm more prepped now. And going back to what I was saying about having those conversations with producers, going, have you made a feature film before? I go, yes, I have. I have earned my fucking stripes. I know exactly what you mean, you know. So now I'm kind of renewed excitement because I can go into those meetings like fully cocked and just go, right, I understand the process now, you know.
Having been part of the ride, Josh, when you came in part way through to add your music to this, what part of the roller coaster did you feel like you was on?
I don't know. It was actually, I think we'd put on quite a strict deadline. So, and I'd not had to create music that quickly and be so sure of myself. You know, because I've been in bands and usually there's, you know, you just make music with your mates and then you put it out when you put it out. But this was like, no, you've got 6 weeks to create a score for a film. You got to go. And basically you just got to make decisions and stick to them and make it work. I did bring in some friends to help because it's a spaghetti western and I don't play guitar, I don't play trumpet, I don't play violin.
Everything that's
basically
key.
everything that is
that's needed for this film.
Yeah, basically. I only play piano and I play synthesizer. So, which it's not like a space cowboy film. So, unfortunately, but you know that may be a trilogy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, man walks into town looking for another man.
Yeah.
He's dressed as a space cowboy.
Yeah.
They do stuff.
It is tough. So yeah, like my good friend Daniel, he came on and he is a guitar player and a trumpet player and a violinist. Yeah, and clarinet. Not that appears on here. And Johnny, who plays the harmonica in it. So I was really collecting a team of musicians that I respected and that I wanted to work with, and I was kind of directing myself the score, coming up with the initial ideas, and then just getting as much down and recording as much as possible, and then I would sort through and then kind of make the score off of what they recorded. I did make some creative decisions, like the characters Jack, Charlie, and Left Eye Lopez.
Gaz, big Gaz. They're all called Gary.
They're all called Gary, aren't they? Yeah, of course. But I just remember Left Eye Lopez. Jack is the trumpet, which Daniel had only just learnt to play, so it's really bad trumpet playing.
But it's good.
But that's why it's good.
It works for the
Because,
character.
like,
Yeah.
exactly. Because he's kind of drunk all the time. And then you had Charlie, who was the guitar, the kind of moody guitar coming in, kind of cloaked figure.
And he has a vocal on his every time he sort of enters a room. Goes,
yeah. And then Big Gaz, he was the harmonica, because I think it was from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
That's where you have the man with a harmonica, which was one of the references for it. Kill Bill was also a big reference. That's
well, Tarantino loves those old spaghetti western. You know, what's he called? The composer.
Yeah, Morricone.
Yeah.
So it was kind of heavily borrowing from that, but then also trying to make it fit with all of the music from the bands that you'd chosen, including my band, Avec Sans, and Clint Boone, Clint Boone Experience. So you had Phantomar, which was very kind of like 90s electronica, and then you had Avec Sans, which was very kind of like modern day pop, and then you had Clint Boone, which was kind of like 60s revival. So it's kind of like, we've got
So you guys are just proving to me what I thought at the beginning, that this is a film for the people that love filmmakers would appreciate this.
Yeah.
Because you appreciate film.
Yeah,
you guys love film, and that resonates.
I think that comes across, as you say, we're in the film, and even if it's intentionally or not, it just comes through, doesn't it? Because all these elements, like you mentioned, can I just say, I've learned something new. I didn't know about the instrument, so when I now watch it, it's a film you can watch over and over again and learn new things from.
But it'll be more subliminal.
Yeah, of course.
You definitely know.
Yeah. It wasn't on the nose, but it just made it easier to then make creative decisions, because it was like, okay, well, we need trumpet here because Jack's in the scene, or we need guitar here because we've got Charlie.
But the other thing as well, we didn't want to go down the trope too tropey with like.
Yeah.
No, you could almost make it spoofy, can't you? And we mentioned the Cornetto trilogy, and you could just this film is funny, does have humour in there, but it's not a comedy.
No.
Whereas if you started to make it spoofy, it would become comical,
Yeah,
and it's not that at
it's a
all.
dark comedy. There,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
It's sort of within the text. It's not like, hey, this is a comedy.
Hey, this is what we're not taking the mickey out of the things that have come before. We're using them and highlighting them and appreciating them.
Yeah, and I think that's a very. When we talk about British sensibilities and humour and tragedy being very much a staple of I also think as well we tackle some very quite serious subjects, but we don't tackle it on the nose. It's just within the characters and the text. There's a lot going on there, which is what I would say that things that were around me growing up in a small working class town in Manchester, where it's based loosely on people that I knew, like working in a bar, and you'd have these sort of. I thought they were really cool when I was younger, but actually, as I've gotten older, I've realised that they were
how troubled
very
they are.
tragic human beings, who lived in caravans by pubs because they were alcoholics, but they were really good at pool. And I was like, wow, I want to be this guy. He's like the Fonz, and the Fonz is quite tragic. Why is he hanging out with those kids? He's a really old guy. It's like hang out with somebody your own age, And I think it is based on those people, and it's also there's so much tragedy there, and I think as well when you see Danny Sutcliffe really turn on the waterworks and some of the more sort of touching scenes, like he on the day when we were shooting those the scene in the phone box, that was like one take, and he just did it, and I was like, wow, how
where do you think that comes from then, that he was able to do that?
Well, I asked him, I said, where did you get that from? Where did you pull that from? How did you turn all that on? And he said, I didn't turn it on, I turned it off.
That's deep.
I think
He's
I don't want to speak for all comedians,
No.
but there's the consensus that a lot of comedians are funny for a reason. They are sort of somehow covering up certain aspects or coping. It's a way of coping, and it's it's something that they. I mean, I'm not a comic, so I could say, but I probably maybe
Does this resonate with you?
Yeah, to a degree. I think that it's also, all of us are putting on personas, right? You're not the same person with your lover that you are with your director, that you are with your best mate. Like, there's a range of different personas. But again, I think people have this thought about comedians that who you see on stage is who you're going to meet off stage. And that isn't always the case. Sometimes it's close, but there's always like an aspect of a human being you're not meeting. So yeah, to go out and make people laugh night after night, no matter what's going on in your personal life, sometimes you do have to do some psychic mutilation. And I have myself, like I did a show 2 days after my mum's funeral, and it was an improv show, and I was like, hi, can we get a suggestion for a location? And people can smell it on you. They were like, a hairdresser's, my mum was a hairdresser, your mum's kitchen, great, or a funeral director's. And then they chose funeral directors. And I was like, well, okay, I either have to get on this stage immediately or I'm going to get in my head. And everyone else around me was way more upset than I was, because I was like, well, here we go. And, I ended up doing one of the best songs I've ever done in improv about being the keeper of the dead. And it was a very moving moment. But there are many times when I've been having personal tragedy and I still get to get on that stage and make you laugh and make you feel something. And I don't think people always appreciate what that takes. And so, yeah, turning it off, I get that. Like, being real, being vulnerable, being seen as yourself versus as the persona that you're putting out into the world is a really brave thing to do. So to be able to do that and be seen on set doing that in the film, I think is a huge gift to the film. And obviously he trusted you and the people around him to be able to break that facade. So, yeah.
So what's happening next with this film then? Where are we in the process? The film's fully finished. Yeah. It's about to be released, and we're now doing the podcast. Yeah. We're doing more podcasts, more interviews.
Podcasting, buy tickets.
Buy tickets. So why should people go and see this film then?
Well, if you've been listening to the podcast at this point, maybe
you've got a good idea. But for a soundbite,
for a soundbite, I would say if you are, if you do, we pitched this film saying this is basically a film like Colour of Money, as if it was directed by Shane Meadows and edited by Edgar Wright. You know, it's very British. It's a film made from the heart. It's a film that is, you know, has no agenda. It is cinematic. It will make you laugh. It will make you cry in parts, and it will probably make you laugh and cry at the same time. You know, I think that's really what we set out to do, and it's a very honest film as well. And it's got some amazing talent in there, and some of which who have never been on screen before as actors, who have just absolutely blown me away, and hopefully will blow everyone else away who watches it.
Have we got anything to add to that, Bubble?
Go see it. It was a really exciting project to work on, and you know, when we went to the screening, I myself was pleasantly surprised when I watched it. You know, the full edit, and it was just funny, and it was just my type of film. It was something that I would like to see. I would say it's a film that's made for someone like me.
Nice.
I feel like this film is set in its own world, which has not really been seen on film before. It's a film that it's set in the past but present, if that makes sense. For instance, there's cash involved. We live in a cashless society. There's hardly any smartphones in it. In fact, there are old phones in it. And it's a film it's coming out today and it's still relevant today, set in the past, but it's just something I've not seen before. It's its own thing, and that's the reason why I think people should go see it, because they get a sense of nostalgia from it, but they also see something they've never seen before. So that's the reason why I think they should go see it.
Josh?
I was still laughing at all the jokes, even though I probably watched them about 20 times over and over and over again in the edit. So, and I still laughed when we did the screening at All His Joy. So it holds up. It's got repeat laughter in it, I would say, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, go and support independent cinema. Like, some really incredibly talented people made this film. It's a really great product. And if you keep talking about how things are homogenized and you say you want to support your mate's project, do it. Go and do it now. And go and be part of something.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with having watched it last night. Couldn't agree more with what you guys are saying. I really enjoyed the film watching it on my laptop, but I know I'm going to enjoy it more watching it on the big screen. At least it wasn't on the phone. At least it wasn't on the phone. But I know I'm going to enjoy it more on the big screen, and I think we need to get to the cinema more as well as a population. I think I fear it's dying a little bit, or it's definitely struggling. That's definitely for sure. And independent films like this are definitely struggling. So, like you say, go and support this film. Go and support cinema. If you love film, this is a film you need to watch.
Go and become a member of your local cinema. I'm a member of the Castle on Chatsworth Road in Homerton. It's the best place in the world. I love going there. It's a little treat to myself. Please, can you stop eating crisps? I don't want to be like a gatekeeper, but if you eat a crisp, I will shove it down your face.
What about a soft bread roll?
A soft bread roll. If I can't hear it, go for your life, gluten yourself out. But
do you get cinema rage? Do you get when there is people being disrespectful in the cinema of the environment that you're in? I do feel like it's for me. It's a sacred space. Yeah. It's a space I want to watch that movie. I don't want to be involved in the picnic next to me. Yeah. You know, and I think we are a community as we sit down. Yeah. And so we should appreciate the person that's sitting next to you.
Have some collective rules. My mate wanted to bring some nuts. I brought him a little Tupperware to decant them in so it made no noise. I also don't want to be like some gatekeeper, don't come and be yourself. But and also if it's a relaxed performance, brilliant, love that, want that. But I'm neurodiverse as well, so sounds really hurt me more than they do other people.
Yes.
So please, don't eat your Walkers.
Or a Subway. I had a Subway once in the Curzon. Somebody came in with a meatball Subway, and I just gave them the stare.
Because then you have the smell to deal with as well.
There's one guy I remember on his phone, and I was like, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's something it could be an emergency, or whatever. Put it away. Okay. Took it out again. I was like, and then he put it away. Took it out a third time, and all he was doing was deleting his history.
Oh, right.
What a freak!
So that gave me
an indication of who he is.
That gave me the right to go up to him and say, if you don't put it away, I'll throw it in the fucking Thames. And I think anyone should.
Yeah.
I think going to the cinema is a challenge these days. For instance, I will pay more to go to a cinema screen, which I know, such as the BFI or something like that, because I know I'm not going to get disturbed. We have someone on the phone.
Or the View,
or the
where this will be shown.
Yes,
Yeah.
View
cinemas.
View cinemas are lovely.
I honestly can tell you how much I love a View. It's one of my favourite spaces. And I think if you've got a certain mobile provider, sometimes you get some discounts too. Don't use them, but do come and see the film.
It's at View Cinema.
But I completely understand what you're saying about the BFI and being around others that appreciate where you are, the space, that they're not just seeing a movie for £4 for somewhere to spend a couple of hours. I always hate it when you get the mums that drop off their kids to the cinema and the kids clearly don't want to be there, but the parents just wanted rid of them. And so you're like, you're the adult in this space that are like, guys, can you fuck off? I want to watch this movie. But that's clearly the situation.
You just got to be that guy that goes in the week, in the afternoon, at around 2.
Get the timings right
Yeah.
for the cinema viewing.
On your own.
the View is the best place to do that.
I'm a big
Yeah.
proponent of going
Very
on
good.
my own to the cinema. I am.
Especially to the View.
Yeah.
Oh,
We love that view.
They do regular checkups to make sure that no one's.
I didn't realise they had a health service. I'm only kidding. Yes, show us your ticket. Give us a cough.
So why? Tell me about the view then. Let's just talk about it.
I think we managed to get that message across.
No, but why are the View supporting you? Why? How has that happened that you've got into this cinema space?
The distributor has works with the View, and they schedule time for independent film. So they make sure that they've actually got time allotted for films like this, which is great.
Why do they do that? Because there's not many chains don't.
I think I do feel like cinemas, they just do it. It's just back to back Marvel films, and there is space to actually put other films on as well, and I think they should, honestly.
To the credit of View as well, this is very genuine. I have noticed they are doing a lot of re-screenings and such as recently. My local View is Lakeside, and they've been showing like Coraline over, and that's just a fantastic movie. So I think it's great we've managed to hook onto a cinema chain that supports not only film they know is good, but they're giving a chance on something different. So I think that's fantastic.
And I think these cinemas need to do a bit of a change up with how they were working, because I think for me the fear is that we're going to get Disney complexes where we only get an option of the Disney films. And whilst I love them and I love the Marvel and the Star Wars, but you need the diversity. Or I fear that they don't understand about where how the talent drops through and feeds through into creating these things. And I fear that this space would just dry up. I've killed it there, haven't I? We're like, oh, fuck. Oh, dear.
But I think talking about what we're talking about earlier, I think having such a big chain, having an ethical side to them is really important because people want to buy into that now. If you're a successful business, that gives you space to do more outreach, to do community work. So absolutely, every business of any type should be doing that, and that they are is absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to eat their popcorn quietly.
So let's move on to the future then. So we dabbled there a little bit with what's going to happen next. Tell me about the next project then, the next film.
The next film is a horror called Freitag, and it's going to be part of a trilogy of films, and there is a through line for all of those. I can't say too much about it.
So I'm going to pause you there on you're going straight into 3 films. So we've talked about how hard it is to make 1 film and the work that goes into that. Why now 3?
Well, I mean, the beauty of it is that if the other 2 are never made, the film stands alone. It doesn't go on to the next film. There is each one has something in common that if you did watch them together, then there would be
the connection.
There would be little nuggets. There would be little Easter eggs in there. There would be something that you
like the Tarantinos, like the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah. So every time you watch it, there would be you probably something you missed the first time round. It would be like, okay. So I've got these 3 scripts which I've kind of it's weird. I haven't really done it purposely. It's kind of just happened, and now I'm rethinking about it. And every time I go back to the draft, they all, because I'm doing them all at the same time, they all sort of just nicely fit together without being like a continuous narrative. So, you know, if Freitag, which is going to be, again, a dark comedy, a very dark comedy, thriller, and it's got, I've kind of pitched it as a psychedelic horror. So, again, aesthetically, it's going to be hopefully something when you watch it at the cinema kind of just sort of bend your mind a little bit.
So this is where we put a pin in it, didn't we?
Yeah,
because you, Francesca, you were quite excited about this. It sounded like this psychedelic thriller, horror. Tell me about what you know about this film then.
Well, I haven't got a great deal of information because...
Are you still pitching for a role?
I am absolutely knocking on the door. I'd like to be the titular Friday or Freitag in German.
There is a role in it with you in mind.
Whoa!
Oh, here we go.
Champagne for everyone.
It's a great Sunday. So the first time playing a romantic lead.
I hear the pay's quite good as well.
110%. Yeah, really good.
On the back end deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic massage as well. Not from the director. Leif, they've got a massage therapist.
Got your own trailer?
My own trailer, yeah, absolutely. Just with me and the video footage. I know. I knew what you meant. But I think I'm excited to see it because the visuals in anything you make is so exciting and it really sets you apart from other people. And I cannot wait to see what you do with this because I love horror comedies, big fan. And obviously it's not a horror comedy exactly, but a dark horror comedy. It'll be really exciting to see what you achieve.
I think the comedy sort of just basically my writing, it kind of just seeps in. Like it has to be...
You can't force comedy, can you?
Well, no, and I don't.
No.
It's just...
I ask it very nicely.
Please enter my movie.
I go around from time to time, I touch his knee, I bring a bit of hot food and say he's lost weight.
So why a psychedelic story like this?
Well, I mean, I started writing this probably about 6-7 years ago, and it's just taken on its own life and it's developed over time, and it's just sort of, you know, kind of percolated and I'm so happy that I've done this film Mr. Doom first, and then going into that because I think I'm a lot more prepared for what it actually is because it's a bigger project. It's for the most part it's a two-hander. It's again written with a very practical standpoint, in the same way Mr. Doom is as well. So I just know it's doable, but at the same time, visual effects and the way it's shot. And
I was going to say it sounds like it must have an element of visual effects in there.
Yeah, but in a sort of like not in a kind of
trippy way, or is it?
No, it's in a very kind of like 70s old school way, like through the editing, lighting, sort of all in camera. Nothing really done in post, honestly. So I'm kind of looking forward to not having to rely, 100% on post. And also in that time, I've as a jobbing director, I've done a lot more with virtual production as well. So I now know a lot of the scenes can be done in a studio with LED backgrounds. Right.
And Matt, do you hope to come in on this, or are you already in with this, or have you had?
I'm already in, baby.
No, you're already in.
I don't know. To be fair, just please.
I want to try and keep as many people.
Yeah.
You've built a family, haven't you? You've built a tribe. You've got this community going on that works. Yeah. Maybe there's some elements that don't, but you know the elements that do. And so you're going to keep hold of that, I guess.
I think I would want to be a part of that. And I'll tell you the reason why is because I'm a big fan of in-camera stuff. And that's what's great about Mr. Doom. There isn't any green screen. Everything is real. And it's in the real set, a real time of day. It's very, what you see is what you get. So it's very exciting to hear, because this is the first time I've heard about all this stuff as well for your next project, and it's very exciting for me to hear that do as much you can in camera, because the audience know when the stuff is on camera. Obviously, we should treat any visual effects as a tool. It's just 101 of filmmaking. But it's exciting to know that that's the way you're going. And yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. So I'll put my CV under the door.
And Josh, if you was to be a part of it, what musical talents would you bring?
Funny enough, I've already made music for it.
Yeah.
So
Have you? Oh.
yeah. I'm ahead of the game. So
Yeah, did I what?
Did you hum it for us?
Weird thing is, I didn't even ask.
No, you didn't.
You just
You
went.
didn't actually.
No, I didn't. You just
didn't
went. Oh, I've done this. What do you think? I'm like, oh my
That's
god.
what you got to do. You just got to act, and then you got the job. Just
Take him out for a coffee.
yeah. No, I made like a 20-minute noise piece for you with me and Daniel on bass guitar and in on synth, and we just did all this kind of.
It's beautiful.
Yes, it's dread. It's,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not nice to
pure
listen
dread.
to, but it's pure dread. But it's very different from Mr. Doom soundtrack. But me and Daniel, who we collaborated on Mr. Doom, we've then gone on and made a project off the back of that, and I think we're then going to feed back into this next film. So I'm there. I'm ready.
It's happening already.
Yeah.
If everyone's shooting their shot, I might as well.
Yeah,
Come on.
come on. We wouldn't have it anymore. You're in, my friend.
I'm gonna aim a little bit higher though. I would like an exec producer role.
You're
got
gonna
money
have
to
to
put
take
in?
that
You got money to put in?
Go on.
I think you have to
About
remember.
30
You have to remember your character's name.
Yeah, true.
And what are you bringing to the role then? What are you bringing to this space?
Anything he wants. Anything he wants.
That's a bit open, isn't it?
Horror sounds fun. Yeah, psychedelics, drugs. Sounds right up my street.
There's no drugs in it, but yeah.
No,
there is. Actually, there is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think the takeaway we can get from this is like when it comes to filmmaking, don't be afraid to muck in. Don't be afraid to do things that are outside your comfort zone. Just be on set. For anyone listening and you just want to get into that kind of industry, just be willing. Like, I know it's hard and sometimes your ego gets the best of you, but we've just established from this whole podcast that we all have an excitement and a drive for film, and that's what's going to come on screen, and that's what's going to come in our future projects, and that's the reason why we love what we do.
Matt, I love that. That was brilliant. I feel like that was a lovely space to wrap this up. So thank you all for joining me. Has anyone got any final words, anything they'd like to say as we close?
Just off the back of what Matt just said, I think as well. Also, if you're new on set and you haven't worked with whoever the director or crew, just be very aware of how you're still kind of auditioning. You know, you don't just go in, I've got the gig, and then you can be however you want to be. You know, just be mindful that if you do make a good impression and you are easy to work with and you are part of the team and you do muck in, that you will be asked back, because you know the director will know. So if you don't play the game, you don't muck in, you aren't part of the family, you won't be asked back.
Any advice as a new leading lady to give there?
Don't know, it felt like there was a little threat at the end of that one. Yeah, no, absolutely that. Just go the extra mile and do what you can. And the thing is, it's such a great environment working with Leif and the rest of the team. And it never feels like you're being asked to do things that are unfair or unsafe. There is a difference. If you feel that you're doing something that's unsafe or you're not being looked after, then absolutely no's a sentence. But you know when you're with good people, and you know when you can trust them, and you know when you're in a space whereby you can really just be yourself, and you will eventually find your people. And I found mine, and my spotlight is...
We'll be sure to add it in the comments. Don't you worry. We'll add it in the
I need
comments.
some new headshots.
We'll add plenty in the comments, all the links below. Make sure you go and see the film if you have been watching and listening. Guys, I've learned so much from you today. I always say with this Creative Academy podcast, somewhere in the beginning I thought I had something to offer, but along the way I've discovered that I'm the student. And I've learned so much from you guys today that I'll take away into the projects that I do next. And my hope is that anyone watching or listening does the same. I'm very grateful for you being in the space with me today at the Megaro Hotel.
Thank you.
And if there was anyone watching or listening, we appreciate you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Wonderful. Well, thank you, guys. That's a wrap. Wonderful. Oh, we clap at the end as well.
So much, man.
No, that was beautiful. I meant everywhere. Are we clapping at the end? Are we going for it? Here we go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
That was perfect.
I did
He did that on purpose.
You wasn't here at the beginning, was you?
You gotta give me the script, man.
This is why we do rehearsals.
Parentheses. Clap once.
Do you play music?
I don't.
No, but there you go.
And you wasn't here at the beginning, was you? You missed the clap at the beginning, so we had a thing going on, and you know that's what happens when you turn up late. There you go. But yeah, thanks again, guys. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Yeah, at the end, I was like, I wasn't going to go into this story about like actors on set who have just like just been awful. And I was like, I'm not
Hold
going
on,
down that.
we haven't stopped. So we'll bring this back in.
No, just said some examples.
You wanted to
No.
pinpoint some people, mention no names.
No, it's just,
End scene.
No, we've got to cut it there.
Clap
It all went so well.
anyone who just like I've heard like conversations like how much are you getting paid? And you're like poison.
Yes.
Out.
I've just finished a theatre show.
Yeah.
Had that exact same thing, and it is difficult. You know they're the elements that when people are worried about other people and they go into that, the money thing, whilst the money is important and the agreements and that everyone being treated fairly is important, but it just seeps in as a little bit of poison, doesn't it? And it ruins the art. Mm.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Don't talk about money.
Don't.
Talk about the money in the beginning when you're offered the role.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Indeed, and also that's why having a strong union is important.
Mhm.
Because they could set those rates.
About those boundaries.
Join your union.
Wonderful.
Because of unions, it always makes me laugh. Like in America, obviously we've had all the union strikes and all that stuff. It's very strange. Like I did a job out in America, and when I get into set, people say to me, "Oh, we call you English people the Mexicans." And we're like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Oh, because you just because they're so unionized, they have to have one job role only, and if they step out of line, they're like, no, you can't do that." So, for instance, for making this movie, like for me to move a light stand, they'd be like, no, that's someone else's job." And it's like, so it's just more flexible where we're filming now, isn't it?
Yeah. As much as I get it, it's not always. It's not always doable.
Especially within an independent film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got to set your expectations, and you're doing a lot of it for the love rather than because you think this is going to pay your mortgage. That's why you're doing the ads. So if anyone's got any ads,
It's quite interesting as well. So I dabble over the years with a little bit of writing, and I'm trying very hard to focus on one book. And I'm writing this book about not doing creativity for the money, because there's so many books out there that talk about how to make money out of your art. And actually, I'm finding that the people that are successful are the ones that put that to one side, that pursue their craft, but forget about the money. The money, it's important, it drives us, it fuels the thing, but it's not everything, is it?
It gets in the way. You're kind of unfettered, really. Yeah.
well, it's really unfortunate. If we had like better work practices and we're paid more to do other stuff, then I think loads more people would be creating stuff, and it would be fantastic. And so, yeah, when money gets involved, everyth's got to be monetized, every side hustle. You can't just have a passion anymore. So, yeah, I think it's important that we get back to like doing stuff because we love it. And it comes across. If you're making something derivative because you think it's going to be commercially viable, or if you're being authentic. I'm very authentic.
Yes, you all are.
Hashtag authenticity.
Well, thanks again, guys. I think that really, truly does wrap up this episode. So thank you for watching and listening.
Yeah.